Welcome to After the Bell with your host, Lauren Cranmer. This is episode 3, and we're interviewing Barb. We had an amazing chat. She really has such a unique and interesting story, and she is also a cancer while pregnant survivor. She's a pro MMA fighter. She has a fight coming up next month. She's a jiu-jitsu brown belt. She owns a school with her husband, and she's also a mother to an almost 1-year-old beautiful little girl. So please get ready for an awesome interview and welcome Barb with me. Welcome, Barb. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So I was really excited to have you come on because, I mean, you're a pro MMA fighter, correct?
Yes.
A jiu-jitsu brown belt, and also a mom of a 1-year-old.
Yeah, she'll be 1 March 8th.
Oh, 1 March 8th. Oh my gosh, that's so soon.
Yeah, I know.
And then you also are a breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
So tell me, before we get into all the cool stuff about you, tell me a little bit about your how you found your cancer, what your history is with that.
Sure. So I was actually preparing for my professional MMA debut. And, there's a lot of things that go into that with like weight cutting and things like that. So I was taking like an Epsom salt bath after a training session. And I'd gotten out and I kind of brushed up against my right breast and I noticed like a hail type lump in my breast. And I was like, that seems weird. So I start kind of feeling it and I go, this does not feel right to me. So then I asked my husband, like, okay, can you tell me if this feels weird to you? And he's like, yeah, I think you should probably make an appointment because that seems like, I don't know, maybe you got hit there, maybe something, but like just to be safe. So this was probably like 1 month out from my professional MMA debut. And, I made the appointment and the doctor, she said, oh, it's nothing. It's just a cyst or, and kind of wrote it off. Well, after my fight, it never went away. Like it just stayed there. So I reattacked the issue and I said, I would like some more information on what this could be. So she put a referral in to get an ultrasound done because at the time I was 29 and they were saying that I was too young to get a mammogram and all this stuff. So they did right straight to the ultrasound and the first ultrasound they said, oh, it's nothing. And I was like, okay, I guess I just have this thing in my body. Like I don't know what it is. And well, then what is it exactly? Yeah. So I was I was kind of left with this like, okay, nothing's wrong with me type thing, but I feel like something's wrong with me. So I was kind of like in this weird limbo phase. Then I get a call back from that ultrasound office and they were like, I think we should just like re-image it. And this was a couple months after it. So, they re-imaged it again. They felt like nothing was wrong until I got a call as I was driving away. So I was driving away from the facility and they said, I think you should turn around and come back in here. And I was like, oh, really? Well, I have stuff I need to do. Like, I can't just turn around and come back. Like, my day is set. Like, I can't just turn around and come back. And then I decided as I was going home that I wanted to switch my care to a different medical facility. And as soon as I did that, they re-imaged me and they said, oh, there's blood vessels going to this lump that you have. Like, this is not just nothing. This is not just a cyst. However, we're not going to obviously be able to know what it is until we do a biopsy. So then they did the biopsy and I pull up my phone and I see the word carcinoma and I about just lost it. I was like, wow. So I'm like looking it up on Google because it was after hours. And I also just found out I was pregnant. So literally a week prior, I found out I was pregnant, got my biopsy results back. I'm looking on Google. It's telling me it's cancer. I have no idea what stage or what it is. And then, of course, I get the calls and stuff telling me that thankfully it was stage 0, so DCIS. Right. So very, very early. But still, like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, What does this mean for my unborn child? So
how many weeks were you?
That was the story. I was only about 4 or 5 weeks when I found out that I had cancer. Yeah.
What was going through your mind
So,
in regards to that? Because I know for myself, I know it's so interesting that we have this in common, because I'm sure you felt like a unicorn when that happened, because I know I did. Because it's like
hmm oh,
there's
yeah.
no way
Yeah.
this has happened to anybody else, right? So how are
Sure. Yeah.
you processing all of that at the time?
You know, so over the years I've been through a lot, so I put like a pretty big mask on when things like this happen, but I'll never forget when I got the call from the doctor to explain what I had. I just went into my bathroom. I stepped away from my husband and went into my bathroom and I just bawled. I just let all of my emotions that I've been suppressing over the years from everything else that I've dealt with out. Because I was like, really, this is happening to me in the most amazing moment in my life. I'm pregnant with my first child, and all these other things had happened. I'd fought two professional fights. I was in the best shape of my life. I just got back from Hawaii when I got this information too. So it was like
Yeah.
all these amazing things. And then I'm faced with, what does this mean for me? And so it was very overwhelming. It was very scary. It was upsetting. um, I just didn't know what it meant at the time. Like, how is this going to affect my unborn child? I had no idea.
So when you spoke to the doctor, how did they direct you to handle this? Were they immediately like, we could handle your cancer and, you know, your pregnancy can go on? Or what were they telling you at first?
So my doctor was incredible because I walked into you graduate from just the imaging place to the cancer place. So
Right.
I'm walking into the breast cancer place and I'm thinking, I'm really here. There's all kinds of pink ribbons everywhere. Like I'm an actual cancer patient. This is really surreal. And they know that. They see that in my face. And she goes, well, congratulations on your pregnancy. That was the first thing she said. And I was like, oh, but I'm here to figure out about my cancer. Like I'm very nervous about that. Can we like jump to the real
Yeah.
thing here? And she's like, well, I want to tell you that we caught this very early. Like we're so lucky. We caught this so early. Like you're stage 0. The options that we have would be literally for you because I have very dense breast tissue. And the size of the tumor, the only course of action was to do a mastectomy, to make sure that nothing else happened. So I actually already had that. I get crazy on research. So I'm like doing all kinds of my own research before going in. And I already had made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do. And so I was going to tell her that, but then she said, this is really our only course of action. And I was like, okay, all right, perfect. Now, when do I do it? Because I'm in the first trimester. Like, when are we going to do this surgery? I don't want to risk hurting my child while having the surgery. And that's when she was like, we're going to do it literally like the day after you're in the second trimester, like right early in the second trimester, because your baby's healthy and it's not a super invasive surgery. So like while you're losing a part of your body, it's not gonna necessarily affect her. So that's kind of the course of action she gave me. And then she said, oh, we're gonna do lymph node mapping to make sure that it hasn't spread anywhere else and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, that was the plan. And I just kind of waited. So I was in limbo waiting. For, until the second trimester.
How was that waiting period for you? Because that's a significant amount of time from finding out around 4 weeks to another 8 weeks after,
hmm
you know? What was that period like for
Yeah.
you?
Uh-huh. So it was, I'd say my anxiety was like extremely high. I mean, like, I'm just trudging through life. Like I own a business, I own a martial arts gym, right? So I'm just kind of like, putting a face on, but really like I was super nervous. I was like, I don't want to wait because I don't want something drastic to happen in this time frame, but then I know I need to wait because I don't want to affect my daughter. And at the time, I didn't know I was having a girl. So, like, I decided to do my surgery the day after my gender reveal because I wanted to do like a party and then have a good time and then go do my
Yeah.
surgery basically. And so that's what I did. That's what I did. But yeah, it was hard. That waiting period was super hard. Matter of fact, it's funny because we took a trip to Vegas because I think it was Master Worlds happened right before my surgery. And we went and cornered one of our guys and then used it as a trip. And it's funny because I was scrolling and that's when I saw the post about you coming back to jujitsu from your professor. And I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. She had breast cancer while pregnant and is back on the mats. And then I
Is
was
this
like,
real
wow, there's
life?
hope for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, it was so
Yeah.
random, but it was like I needed it because I was like, I felt like a unicorn. Like nobody else had been through this and it's so rare. And then to see that you like also do jujitsu as well, I was like,
Yeah.
this is kind of crazy.
It's so crazy. I
So,
remember when I
yeah.
first was going through like mastectomy and all that, I was literally on Facebook, on Google, trying to find somebody in
Hmm.
jujitsu that like has been
Yep.
in those shoes, and it was very hard. So
Yeah.
when we originally connected, and then you actually connected me to Molly, who was in our first episode,
Right.
which so there was this
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah,
we
I
had this
know.
like triangle of jujitsu, breast cancer, humans, which is crazy rare to like find such like a unique experience, that especially you and I, because even the story what you're saying with
Right.
finding out early, waiting, I was experiencing those same things. So I
Oh.
completely understand that anxiety that you were feeling, because it's just all of the unknowns start popping in your head and you're just anticipating
Hmm.
what is to come, and it's hard. You had your mastectomy at 12 weeks. Oh, and also too, I had my gender, well, I didn't have a party, but we did found out our gender that week of my mastectomy too. So we wanted to know prior to
Okay,
going into
gotcha. Gotcha.
surgery.
Hmm.
So I
Sure.
totally get
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I when I found out I had a girl, it kind of changed everything for me too. And even my doctor, I told her like after when we were getting ready for surgery, oh yeah, I'm having a little girl. And she was like, well, she's going to be super strong. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, like I cannot believe this. Like, so
How did the mastectomy go for you? How was the surgery? And you said you had the lymph node mapping, right?
yes. So they brought me in and we did the lymph node mapping, like the shot stuff first. And then we did that and it definitely like the radiology or the radiation, I mean, that went in to my arm when they did that, I was like, wow, this hurts. I'm not excited about the rest of this
Yeah.
today. But then so we did that and then prepped for surgery. And I remember one of the things I remember vividly is they didn't have an OB like checking my daughter's heart rate. And I was like, excuse me, I want to know that she's good before, after, during all of it. Oh, well, we'll have to call somebody to come up. And I was like, well, okay. Like I was already like right on the ball, like advocating for her because I was like,
Good.
I will lose it if I don't know how she's doing. So yeah, they brought a special OB in to like monitor while I was doing the surgery. Um, I have like adverse reactions to anesthesia a lot. So after the surgery, I had a lot of nausea and issues, especially being pregnant too, where it was like super uncomfortable as far as that goes. So the recovery for me was not very fun. I remember I just propped myself up on my recliner. I had a lot of just, like I said, nausea with this pregnancy with my daughter. So on top of that, I'm just feeling like all the pain and discomfort. And, I remember them telling me you need to take the pain medication as much as you feel like you don't because you're pregnant. You need to because you're going to stress your body out. Well, yeah, like I started getting like super painful because I had tried to put off taking it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I need to do it. I need to get some rest, basically. So, yeah, I had a lot of guilt from that, like taking the
I know.
prescription medication that they gave me, and that was really hard on me.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was something that I experienced as well.
Hmm.
You want to do what's best for your growing child, but you also have
Hmm.
to, it's such like a fine balance of what you feel is right and wrong, and then also just taking care of this like insane experience, and that pain is real and you really do have to address it in order to heal well, and then also wanting to
Yeah.
advocate for your kid. So there's just so many different layers. But I think,
I know. Yeah.
in the long run, they're right. You have to, that stress on your body is huge. So I think, as tough it was a great choice for you to address it when you needed it.
So yeah, that went well. And then of course, like, just moving forward after that, like I was pretty obviously physically fit before this, so I wanted to get back to doing at least
Yeah.
some physical activity that it was appropriate while I was pregnant. But then I was like, oh, I can't lift my arm all the way, like just basic little things like that that were kind of shocking for me. And
Yeah.
that I worked on and kind of then, obviously things started to improve. But I still have permanent nerve damage from the
Do
surgery.
you? Did you
So
have a
like my lat
double or
muscle is
single?
completely numb, my chest. I had a single, so
Okay.
it was my right. So I still breastfeed my daughter. So we're going on
Amazing.
almost a year of breastfeeding her and just exclusively too. She won't take a bottle. So when I tell
Yes.
my doctors that, they're like, look at her. She is so like healthy and you've able to produce like enough milk for her. I'm like, yeah. So that was like a big win for me. I'm so thankful.
That's amazing. That is truly like a huge blessing out of this all, because
Hmm.
it's losing your breast. That's a huge thought process, especially when you're pregnant. Like, am I going to be able to, if you want to breastfeed my child? And
Hmm.
I'm sure you were dealing with that
Right.
the whole pregnancy, right? Like, is this going to work with one breast?
It's a huge anxiety point for me because, you know, I I don't mind formula feeding and that if I had to do it, that would have been totally fine with me. But like, yeah, one of my first questions to them was, will I be able to breastfeed my daughter? Like I asked my OB and he was like, well, so think about this. And it actually helped ease my mind. He was like, think about twin moms. They have two
Mm-hmm.
babies or triplet moms, like they have three babies and they decide to breastfeed. Like they're able to produce because the baby is signaling what their body needs to produce for them. As long as you're obviously nutritionally doing what you need to do, typically it should be fine. And so I just had that kind of confidence piece going into that. And then, yeah, she never had any issues latching or anything. So yeah, like we're going strong at like almost a year. So
Congratulations, mama. That is a huge like achievement.
thanks.
How
Yeah.
is it just using one side? Like, you haven't had any like mastitis or engorgement issues at all?
No, I had like probably when she was about, let's see, so she used to sleep kind of through the night from 2 months to 4 months. And then at 4 months, she stopped sleeping through the night. So we're
Naturally.
just kind of not sleeping. Yeah. But during that time frame, I had a little bit of engorgement issues, but I would just pump,
Yeah.
which was hard, right? Like it's a little bit more aggressive when you just have one because there's so much stimulation. So yeah, I don't get like the break of like, okay, I'm gonna switch her and stuff like that. So definitely a lot harder journey just having
Yeah.
one. But you know what? Like as far as like for me, like I have such a big bond with my daughter over it.
Hmm.
Like we're super close. Obviously, she's the love of my life, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like it just is something that I'm very grateful for.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It truly is. Your daughter is extremely lucky. And I know a lot of women, struggle even just going through treatment too, not even mastectomies or things like that, but with breastfeeding and timing right of stopping chemo and breastfeeding or starting chemo. So there's not a lot of,
Hmm.
insurance doesn't cover formula if it's the mother's issue. So if
No,
it has to be the
right?
baby,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that's a whole nother layer of thinking about it too. If you're unable to breastfeed or afford donor milk, because that's expensive. So that is a huge win. And I'm sure it
Hmm.
relieved a lot of stress once you figured out you're away with your daughter. So how do you manage breastfeeding and training and all those things? Because I know that can get a little bit hairy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, no, it does. So, being a mom, obviously, you know what it takes. Like, intense, like the requirements. We're 24/7 on, there's no off. And then to add on to that, being a business owner, I also serve in the Air National Guard here in Colorado.
Oh
And
my God.
then I breastfeed my daughter, and I have to be at a caloric deficit. My comeback fight is at bantamweight, which is my previous weight class. And I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't able to like appropriately use my nutrition, right? Like
Right.
as soon as I told my husband and everybody else, I was like, if it affects my ability to feed my daughter and do the things I need to do, then I'm not going to do it. But as soon as I kind of got on my performance nutrition plan, the weight started coming off and the supply, there's never been an issue. So yeah, like I'm tired. I'm not going to lie. But
Yeah.
it's worth it to me. Like a lot of that training is very therapeutic for me. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you know, something that I need to recover mentally, I guess. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course, like I want to get back into fighting. I want to show people that you can kind of not bounce back, because I don't really like bounce back culture. Everybody's different. But like get back to what you love no matter what happens to you type thing. And
Hmm.
my surgeon even said, I remember like as I was getting ready to go under, she's like, can't wait to hear about your fights. And she knows one of the fight doctors here in Colorado, and they're really good friends, and they went through residency together. And she starts talking about him, and I know Dr. Alex and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm out. So yeah, while it's been hard, it's been manageable, it's been doable. I have a pretty strong support system, so I think if I didn't have that, maybe we wouldn't be doing it. So,
Yeah, that is so. I mean, you are an amazing human for doing all of these things and achieving all these things. And also just wanting to kind of get back to not exactly where you were, but start fresh and get back in there, get back in the ring, because that cannot be an easy decision after going through such a like life-changing experience. Kudos
hmm
to you for being just a badass.
well, thank
So,
you. I appreciate that.
so this is your first professional fight, or is it your coming up?
This will be my third professional fight. So my
Okay.
first professional fight, I fought with breast cancer.
My
So
God, it's
yeah, I actually
crazy.
had breast cancer while I fought that fight. Yeah. So, and my second one, and the pans, and the like Nogi
Right.
worlds, like all those things, I had breast cancer, which is so crazy to look at.
So in theory, like you
So this will
probably
be
weren't
my first fight without it.
performing. Yeah, you probably weren't performing at your best because you had cancer and lingering in your body. So now you don't have to worry about the cancer so
Yeah.
much. So hopefully that'll be a benefit to your
Right. No,
training camp.
exactly. It's interesting because I have to train differently now. So like I used to, obviously, like I don't have a child, so I can go to the morning class and to the night class and do whatever. Like,
No.
so I have to very strategically plan my training sessions. So, which is different than what our normal fighters do. So like while I'm doing different training, I'm actually in better shape than I was back then. And a lot of myself like thinks, I wonder if like I was so tired and so lethargic and kind of like I don't want to train because I had cancer. I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
So there were moments where I was like, oh, I don't really feel like training. I don't feel that anymore, and my cardio feels really good, and I feel just like way better than I was back then. So it's really interesting.
I agree. I feel like I hear that a lot where it's almost like you don't realize, you just think you're tired from life and whatever. And then you get the cancer
hmm
removed from your body and you're like, wow, it feels a little better. And in hindsight, it's like that was
Yeah,
absolutely a or like a symptom that is so hard to ever determine, you know?
definitely. Especially when you're training all the time anyways, you think you're just sore and tired from the
Yes.
sessions that you're doing, but like
Yeah.
I can do multiple sessions now in a day off of very little sleep and not be as tired as I was when I had cancer.
Now, was your cancer, what was
Yeah.
was it hormone positive or what was the clinical descriptor?
It was hormone positive. Yeah. So it was ER positive, HER2 negative. So
Hmm.
yeah, like basically, that's why they were like, let's remove the breast completely, just because like we think if we kept it and just did, I think it's called like a lumpectomy where they just kind of take it out. Like it wouldn't
Yeah.
have been a good plan for me. So they just did the full on mastectomy.
And are you taking any medication? Do they want you in a chemical menopause, or is that not addressed yet?
That's not addressed yet. So basically,
Yeah.
when I talked to her, she was like, because you're pregnant, we're just going to remove the breast and we're not going to put you on any type of hormone therapy. And we're just going to reassess this after you're done breastfeeding,
Breastfeeding.
basically is what it is. So yes, I have this impending situation where after I'm done breastfeeding, we got to kind of readdress this whole thing. They want me to do like another mammogram and stuff on my left breast, but I'm still breastfeeding, so they're kind of like, it's kind of, we get some weird readings on that usually
Yeah.
if you don't pump correctly right before and stuff. So yeah, so I do have this like impending thought in my head of, okay, I got to go back and kind of deal with this again,
Yeah.
here soon.
Did she mention about any, like, definitely starting any medications, or is that just potential in the future?
That's just a potential in the future. Basically, they're going to like obviously run all these tests and look at all the imaging and kind of see
Yeah.
like where I'm at and meet me at where I'm at and if we need to do it. But yeah, it's not like definite. This is what she thought that I would need, but then like she wants to take a look. Well, she actually retired, so it'll be a new doctor, but yeah, so it's not like definite that I'll have to do it.
Okay, well that's always nice, although I understand the like anticipation of that scan. Now, did you have
Right.
any scans after the mastectomy, or any follow-ups in terms of checking any residuals, or what happened after your mastectomy?
No, no, I haven't. It kind of just like I had my baby and everything was good, and they told me just to, follow up with them as needed, and then they put the referral in for the mammogram for the other side. And then when I called to book, they're like, "Oh, are you still breastfeeding?" And that's kind of been just kind of the stopping point for them, for me. They did look at obviously my scar and make sure everything's good and like the tissue and everything is good on that side. And there hasn't been any issues. But yeah, I haven't had any like red flags, I guess you could say, enough for me to go back into the
Yeah.
office.
I'm glad to hear that for you. Now, with the
Yeah.
mastectomy, and I know you said you have nerve damage, how is that with training? Like, how are
Mhm.
you adapting with those limitations?
So it's interesting. What I was really concerned about was, first of all, in jujitsu, people like pressing on me and like, is that going to cause issues? But I don't think about it. That's another reason why I think the training is so therapeutic for me. Because like while I'm sitting here, or if I put deodorant on, or if I do anything like that, I feel the nerve damage and the numbness. So that's really annoying. But when I'm training, I don't think about it at all. Matter of fact, like I was kind of concerned about because my right hand is my power hand for MMA, and no issues with that at all. When I'm training my strength and conditioning, I don't feel a difference. It's just kind of annoying, I guess. And I don't think
Yeah.
they told me the truth with it. Because I asked her, I was like, hey, I'm kind of numb, like probably 2 weeks after my surgery. Hey, I'm kind of like numb here everywhere. Like how long is this going to be? And she said, oh, a couple more weeks. And I was like, now in September of this year will be 2 years. So it's permanent.
Yeah.
And I wish they
Yeah.
would have kind of like let me know that it could be permanent nerve damage instead of just like a temporary thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's difficult because you even brought it up and they kind of just brushed it off a little bit, it seems. That's
Yeah, it'll be a couple weeks. And I'm like, a couple weeks? Oh, well, we're almost at 2 years. So,
unfortunately, like, doctors in this field, and any practitioner in this field just deals with this so often. So sometimes these things can be left out. And while they don't mean any harm and they're good doctors and all these things, maybe some people do resolve in a few weeks. That is true. But that one little piece of information could have been huge for you. And you know,
right.
it's just the way things go sometimes. And, they leave out these little small details could be such a huge impact. Going into your fight, when is it? It's in March?
Yeah, March 16th. So it's going to be like that St. Patrick's weekend. So that's pretty exciting. I have my daughter a little outfit for my
Oh,
weigh-ins to be
adorable.
all
I love
dressed
that.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
is
So
there a way we
yeah.
could watch it?
Yeah, so it's for the Midwest Championship fights. They have an Instagram. It's literally that's their Instagram handle. The link in their bio, or actually, I have a link in my bio on Instagram. If you click it, there's going to be a pay-per-view link there, and you just scroll and pick my name, and then you can stream it.
That's amazing. I will definitely be watching and supporting you because that's
Yes.
huge. Do you
Oh
feel
yeah.
like getting this fight over is kind of getting you onto the next step of healing? Because I know while it's separate from breast cancer, obviously that's just a huge portion of your experience and your journey. So do you feel like, do you
hmm
feel like this is like significant to you in your breast cancer world versus just fighting?
Yeah, it is. Oh, absolutely. Because, when I was fighting before, my purpose for fighting was just to fight. And I liked it and I did it. And I didn't really have like a message to spread. And
Yeah.
now I have a huge platform as far as like this goes, and I plan on shedding awareness for it
Yeah.
because, how many times are women told, especially athletes, told, oh, you're too young for this to be an issue. And it was told to me two or three or four times before I was taken serious. So, this is a major thing for me. Like, I want to use this more so to spread awareness about breast cancer, about the things that kind of helped me get through it with my faith and things like that, to a wider platform. And so I think I have a different purpose in fighting now. So I think I'm more motivated to do well so that I can get on the mic and talk about it. So, so
I
yeah,
love that
it's
so much.
definitely a big closure piece for me.
I mean, it's again it's the reason why I'm doing this is because people like you are so needed in this community. And while you don't have to share anything after you've gone through this, but the people that do, I really feel are so integral to other people going through it or even not yet, just sharing that information. And it's always just so impressive to me because of just going through that. Sometimes, like, how do you not want to just kind of avoid it at all costs, you know? So the people that could really pick up and come back stronger and showcase, this is like advocate and spread awareness and all these things. It's amazing. So I love that that's your
hmm
mindset was also incorporating the things that you love too.
Yeah, I want to say like I'm actually really excited because, I've gotten a lot of questions about, remaining flat on one side. Um,
Mm.
and in my fight, my sports bra will have a scar and a breast cancer ribbon here. I just to spread awareness because it's obvious. It's very obvious. Like when I wear one,
Yeah.
it look like, whoa, what's going on with her? Well, okay, this is what's going on with me. And yes, it happened to me at 29 years old. It can happen to anybody type
Yeah.
thing.
I love that. I
So,
think that's a great idea. Like show it off because
hmm
this is what you've been through, but and also kind of give a little awareness in there. That's perfect.
yeah.
Ha- do you have any prosthetics or is that anything that you're interested in?
Yeah, so my insurance covers a whole year's worth of
Oh,
prosthetics.
wow.
Um, I actually had made the appointment for kind of shortly after my daughter was born, and then I realized that I hadn't regulated yet, and so it would like not match what I normally would be. So I still haven't gone and gotten fitted for those. And then in the meantime, it's been so long that I've gotten just comfortable with what I look like, and I am kind of just confident in who I am. And
Mhm.
not to say that like I'm not going to do it, because there's been times where I'm going to a nice restaurant with my husband and the hospital gave me like a little foam insert. It's totally not accurate at all, but I just like pop it in there because I'm like, I want to wear this dress and it looks really weird without, my other side being at least a little bit. So yeah, I've done that. But I plan on getting my prosthetics made just because, like, I mean, it's covered by insurance, and there are
Yeah.
certain instances where I'm kind of like, I don't really want people staring at me.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's important to, like, I guess, normalize too, is that you could want to wear a prosthetic one day and then not care other days, and that's okay. You don't have to like solidify what
right.
you are going to do.
Always.
So
Yeah.
yeah, for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you're
I
talking
know.
about. When I had reconstruction, so I have implants, but I also did them separately. So
Gotcha.
I was uneven for a
Okay.
little while, but I was taking all the old bra
Oh,
pads out of my old bras and just like trying to like
you're
makeshift
like,
another.
make it work.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do
Yeah.
what you
Oh,
got to
I
do, I
know.
guess.
Yeah, it reminds me, and then this is kind of, I don't know if everybody did this, but I remember in like middle school, like us girls, we would like stuff our bras and like do stupid. So that's what I felt like when I was putting that thing in there. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is so surreal to me that I'm having
Yes.
to do this. So yeah, I understand completely.
So what's something that you would tell somebody that is in your shoes where you were in the beginning? If you had to kind of like reflect back to where you were in your headspace, is there anything that you would offer as
Hmm.
insight or advice?
So I kind of want to talk about like, I lost some friends over this, right? So like, because I had to pull back, I had to like really like reel it in. So I would tell the person who's freshly diagnosed that it's okay for you to be a little bit selfish right now. Like, you may have been giving your life to everybody else your whole life, kind, caring, always there when somebody needs you, but now it's okay to be a little bit selfish. Take care of yourself, give yourself grace, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a lot of I'm praying for yous, I'm this and that, like via text message. But pay attention to those who really show up for you, and just take care of yourself because this is such a journey. It's so hard. If you need to like stay in the house all day, have a full, complete self-care, take a bath, like relax and do your own thing and not talk to anybody, that is okay. And don't let anybody shame you for that because this is so heavy and hard. And so cause I would feel guilty doing that. And then like when those friends I'm talking about ended up like ditching me over this, I felt really bad. And going back, I would never feel bad because I needed that time to take care of myself.
Absolutely. Such a good message because it's so hard you have to navigate so many things. And then you also have to navigate your relationships when you're in survivor mode. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult in the moment. So just give yourself grace. I completely agree. Just, you need to focus on you, the things that allow you to survive and make it through each day, each moment. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, it's like some people don't know how to deal with what you are going through.
Oh,
And it's not
absolutely.
that they have a direct, it's not necessarily about how they feel about you. It's just their inability. And I don't know if that sounds harsh or not, but sometimes it's just
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that and just accepting it for what is. And
Yeah, exactly. Accepting it for what it is. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's such an easy thing to see in hindsight, but in the moment it is hard. So I'm really glad that you brought it up
Yeah.
for those that are starting to go through it now. I wanted to ask
Mm-hmm.
you, were you aware about Dr. Cardonic, the MFM, when you were diagnosed? Or
No, I was not aware of that. I'm interested to learn.
so she is a magical angel. No,
Oh, good.
she runs a registry, like a study for cancer and pregnancy.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow.
she's actually, her Instagram is cancer and pregnancy, if anybody's interested.
Okay. Yeah.
I found her by accident. I don't even know. It was within the whole Google searching and Facebook hunting in the
Sure.
beginning.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But so yeah, she runs this registry that basically takes a look at women going through cancer while pregnant and then also with their
Mm-hmm.
children after treatment. So she
Oh,
follows,
gotcha.
their care as they age. And with
Mm-hmm.
that, she has so much knowledge about what people have already gone through with treatment during cancer and pregnancy. And there's a whole Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're in it, for cancer and
I'm not,
pregnancy.
but I will be. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get in there.
And that was, I'm not a Facebook group person, but that was huge for me. Just
Mm-hmm.
being able to even just search the group, like not even interact, but see that there's actually so many other women that experience this. I think the group has like 600 women or maybe 700 women, which is horrible,
Wow.
but it's,
Yeah, it is
it's a,
horrible.
it's real. But having,
Yeah.
Dr. Kardanic, she wasn't my direct MFM, but she was somebody that allowed me to reach out. She even spoke to my, oncologist at
Mm-hmm.
one point for me. And
Wow.
it's like
Yeah.
I had this like advocate kind of lingering there if I wanted to
Yeah,
ask
somebody else
questions or
to
anything.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
if I
wow. Yeah,
ever,
I'm gonna definitely get in on that.
yeah, and it's something like when we talk about cancer and pregnancy, I always want to mention her name because she was truly like a light through it all. And obviously, like she posts about other women that have gone through this, but she actually now is a cancer survivor
Mm-hmm.
herself. So now she only,
Wow.
which is unfortunate and sad, but she now has such a different lens in her practice. So, yeah, absolutely check her out,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll put her information in the description as well for anybody that hears this that wants to check her out too, because the resources that she comes with and her study and all of that is huge for people like you and I.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. I'm definitely interested.
Now, were your doctors, just going back to that real quick, did anybody ever mention
Sure.
to you about terminating at any point? Because I know that's like an old school kind of train of
Mm-hmm.
thought, and some women are recommended to do that. And did anybody bring that up to you
Yeah.
at all?
So my initial like nurse practitioner, like general practice, she brought it up to me. She goes, you might have to terminate your pregnancy. I just want to let you know. And I was just like, my heart just, oh, it sunk to the floor, right? And she's like, but I'm going to put a referral in, for the breast cancer place and we'll, they'll be able to tell you more. And as soon as I got over there, my doctor was like, amazingly positive and never once brought it up. She's like, no, you're not going to need to
Amazing.
do this. Yeah, she was just like, we're going to get through this. And like her energy shifted my energy. It's just incredible when you have a good practitioner on your side who is positive and understands things. Like, and I told her in the beginning, I said, I want you to be like honest with me all the time. I don't want you to just be like Miss Positive. Like, I want you to be honest with me. So, she's like, oh, I'm honest with you. Like, if you didn't have a good prognosis, I would tell you that. Like, I would straight up tell you, like, what to expect, how to plan, all this stuff. But you have a great outcome ahead. And I'm not worried about your child. I think it's going to go great. So having that energy, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I'm super confident. And then following up with her after the surgery, I'm like, so again, with the honesty thing, like, do you think I can still be an athlete after this? Like, because it's something I love. And
Yeah.
she goes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So yeah, like I did initially with my general doctor have it get brought up. Hmm.
That's something that I feel I fear that women face who are in our shoes, because there are a lot of women now that are experiencing this, unfortunately, it's still not a lot. I think I think it's like 1 in 1,000, or 1 or 2,000,
Hmm.
something like that. So there's a lot of, especially doctors who are older or are set in their ways. They might not be aware of this new information. So hearing that
Hmm.
first is, on top of a
Yeah.
diagnosis, is horrible and scary and heavy.
Oh,
And
yes.
so
Very.
that's something that
Hmm.
is so important to me to always say if I ever meet somebody going through this. This is the things I experienced. I always mention Dr. Kardanic, and in some cases you don't have to terminate. Talk to your doctor, find the evidence, etc. So I'm sorry that you had to
Right.
experience that initially, because that just adds a whole different
Yeah.
layer.
It does for sure. But then, I've had doctors tell me crazy things. So, I don't know if you've had doctors tell you like a crazy, so I just kind of want to share the craziest thing that my OB told me, which I would not go
Oh
back to
boy.
this OB for a few, but he said, he goes, oh, you survived breast cancer while pregnant, right? And I was like, yeah, because I was getting ready to plan for my labor and delivery, and we're talking about things, and he goes, oh, so all the trauma to the breast tissue caused the breast cancer.
Oh
And I'm
God.
like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, it says in the notes here that you're a mixed martial artist. So I just wanted to shed some light on that. And I was like, so then I go home and of course I'm like researching. I'm like, what? Is this really a thing or did he just make this up? And I feel like he just made it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really
It
weird.
sounds like he has something against MMA fighters. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes. Well, he's a little older. He's like, I don't know, I think he's like 60. So I think seeing a young lady come in
Woman,
there and be a
yeah.
mixed martial arts fighter was a little weird, but I'm like, don't use my breast cancer to like talk about your agenda. It was weird.
Yeah,
Like,
and say, and also just point the finger like you caused this. Like,
yeah,
no.
yeah. I'm like, oh,
No,
so it
thank
was
you.
my fault? That's awkward. Like, so
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
no.
know if you've ever experienced, hopefully not, but yeah, it was really
Thank
weird.
God, no. Thank God, because I don't know how
Yeah,
I would have reacted in that
that's
situation.
another thing. I was just in shock, right? I'm like in
Yeah,
my third trimester getting ready, planning for my labor and delivery, and I'm like, wait, so I caused this on myself? Like, you're emotional and like, what? Like, so
yeah,
yeah, I also want to shed some light on that. Like, if your doctor is like gaslighting you at all or anything, like if you're a newly diagnosed patient, like find a new doctor. It's not
yeah,
fair. Like, do not let them do that to you.
yeah. I think that's also hard too. Finding like I think people want to stay with their doctors because it's like this is where I started,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the reason. It's really hard to let go, even if you're kind of experiencing some negative things. But you have the ability.
Sure.
You have the ability to shop
You
around, if
do.
you will, and it's
Mm-hmm.
important. If you feel something in your gut, you need to go with it, advocate for yourself, and so
Sure.
I'm glad to hear you're kind of you've made your way away
Yeah.
from that man.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, he ended up delivering my child and it ended up being an emergency C-section, which is a whole
Oh,
nother traumatic
oh my
experience.
God.
Um, but yeah, but like, yeah, he's not a mean, nasty guy, but I just
Right.
like wouldn't go back. I'm like, no, thanks.
Yeah, you don't have to have hard feelings. You just have to know what's right for you. And I think that's clear.
Hmm,
But so,
exactly. And be strong.
so what happened with your C-section, your emergency C-section?
Yeah, so like I was feeling like I was in labor, and so I called and they said, well, we can induce you, like, you're kind of like you're at like 4 centimeters, so we can induce you and get this baby out and all this stuff. And so we made the induction appointment and I went and they started putting me on the medication. Well, so Pitocin was the second one I took, but the first one I forget what it was that they gave me. And the nurse accidentally overdosed me on it. So I was like really experiencing extreme contractions, like not just like little ones. Like these were very harsh and extreme. And they're like, oops, like this was a little bit over what we should have given you.
Oh
And so I'm
no.
dealing with that. 24 hours later, like I'm trying to push her out and everything, and she's not coming out. They try to vacuum her out. She's not coming out. No matter what we do, it's not working. And so he looked at me and was like pale as a ghost. And he's been doing this for years. Like I said, he was like 60. And he's like, I've never seen this before. We got to go to the OR. And I was like, oh my God, we got to go to the OR. Like this, and it's
Yeah.
at the same hospital that I had the mastectomy. And I'm like, I do not want to go. I was like, okay, well, let's get her out, right? And so then they put me on the same exact bed that I had that surgery on, where it's cold and gross and the lights and it's just like all flashing back to me. And they pop me over and my back just starts hurting to where I couldn't even put it like down on the bed. Um,
Oh
and
no.
then they start like pinching my thigh and they're like, oh, the epidural didn't work.
Oh gosh.
So this whole time, 24 hours, yeah, it just gets worse. Like 24 hours, I'm dealing with natural labor pains the whole time thinking that I had an epidural. And I'm like, this doesn't, this
Right.
hurts. Like I'm feeling like no relief here. Um, So they're like, okay, we've graduated to an emergency C-section, from urgent to emergency, because now you're feeling everything and we have to just put you out. And
Yeah.
so the last thing that I heard before going out was my OB telling the surgeon, yeah, isn't it unfortunate what she's been through throughout her pregnancy with this cancer thing? And now what a way to start being a mother. And then I'm out.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's
And
a real
then
pot.
I wake up. I know. Yeah. And then I wake up and I'm in the room that I started off in, and my baby's not in there. And I'm like, where is my baby? Of course,
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out. Oh, she's on her way. Like, it's going to be okay. We're
Oh
going to
my
bring her in.
God.
She's great. But she had the cord wrapped around her neck. This sounds so surreal saying it. And I'm like, it sounds like, really, are you making this up? But I'm not. It was wrapped around her neck 5 times. So not inward to where it would cut her breathing off, but like out. So she couldn't come out. So that's why it was blocking her.
Oh my
So yeah,
gosh.
I know. Yeah. So then it just turned into that. So one traumatic surgery after another, and
Oh
here we
my
are.
God. And you
So
said you don't deal with
yeah.
anesthesia well. So how is that too after like,
That
meeting your
wasn't that.
daughter and
Yeah.
healing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I was in such like shock from everything, and like my focus went to her. I didn't have like any adverse reactions to it this time. I just had like the post C-section stuff, like
Yeah.
really the recovery from that. But and the exhaustion and being tired and like, oh my gosh, I have a new baby. Yeah, it was crazy a little bit.
And you labored for that long. So was your recovery from your C-section
hmm
difficult? Because I know it's usually a little bit harder after you've, wasted all of your entire energy on laboring first and, trying to push the baby
Yeah.
out and all of that. So I know it makes it that 10 times harder to recover from a C-section.
Yeah, so I was like extremely, like my legs felt like they didn't work. So I
Yeah.
was like, am I paralyzed? Like I feel like I can't put any weight down on my leg. Like I couldn't walk. I had to help, the nurses had to help me to the restroom. Like, so that was really hard initially, like the first 2 days. And then after that, kind of miraculously, it's almost like my body knew my baby needed me. So like, of course, the womanly, like, we just do it, right?
Yep.
And so,
Yes.
yeah, like, we just gotta do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, then like my body just kind of started like slowly coming back, and, like I'm able to take care of her and all this stuff. And then it's like a whirlwind from there. And then, you're in the newborn days.
Wow. What was your mindset after that? Because I know obviously with hormones too, like there's baby blues and, just being a
hmm
mom and adjusting. How were you after
Sure.
experiencing that C-section situation, becoming a mom, all
hmm
of that? How was your mindset through that?
I'm not gonna lie. There was a period in the very beginning, for probably a couple months that I was concerned. I was like, is this postpartum depression?
Yeah.
Just because like I had the scar, then I had the scar, and I'm like way heavier than I used to be. And I know body dysmorphia is a huge thing, and especially for athletes that are constantly checking their weight.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking like I am not who I used to be. Like while I've birthed this child and my body created this life, and wow, what an amazing thing. I just remember sitting there like I'll never be who I used to be.
Yeah.
Right. And the thought process wasn't like I'm excited for who I'm gonna be like it is now. Because I have a lot of, clarity. But back then it was just kind of like, oh my goodness, like this is so different, right? And the lack of sleep, and the kind of, my family's not out here, so I don't have a lot of support.
Yeah.
It was definitely difficult in the beginning, where I'm like, everybody else is just putting their boots on and going about their normal day-to-day life, and I'm sitting here like almost not stuck in the house, because of course I love my baby, and it was really amazing. Like those first few months or whatever are just so
Yeah.
precious.
Yeah.
But it was hard. I remember sitting
Yeah.
in this chair actually holding her while she's sleeping, and I'm like nodding off, and I'm like, you can't nod off in this chair. Like, just
Yeah.
thinking like, this is different. Like, I don't know how I feel. Like, it was weird. It was almost like a numbness came over me for a little while where I was like, I need to try to get back to who I am.
I think that's so like valid, and I don't want to say normal, but I want to say common. And because not only
Hmm.
have you gone through what you went through with breast cancer, which is also altering of your body, then being a first
Hmm.
time mom, not just being a mom, but being a first time mom is a
Yeah.
huge person. Like you're shifting. You're now not who you were. You are a parent. You have a life you have to
Right.
take care of. Yes, your whole body is
Yep.
different. Postpartum as a new mom is so difficult. Whether you're
It
dealing
is.
with the hormonal shifts or not, so I think
Hmm.
that I think that is just so, you know, I think it's got to be so intense when you couple it with not having a breast, now having another scar on your body. There's
Yes.
so many layers to get through that. What are some of the things that
Hmm.
you were able to take you out of that space? Because eventually you are where you are now, where you
Yeah.
feel more clarity. So what would you say that was your headspace?
For me, I am a very spiritual person. I leaned very heavily on my faith. Whereas prior to all the, like, even the cancer and everything, like, I kind of strayed away from it. But this really, like, humbled me and brought me back to it. And I would say that that was, if not the only thing to pull me out of it. I also, did a lot of outdoor time, like walking with her out in getting fresh air. We have a beautiful neighborhood that we would just walk. I would go, okay, this time I'm going to go to the stop sign and back. Like, I'm not going to push myself too far because I'm still recovering, but I'm going to go further each time. And so, walking and, I actually, so those friends that left, great, they left, but I replaced with new friends who were very supportive, like have multiple children, kind of rallied around me and were my village while I felt like I had nobody. So because, like, of course, my family is all the way on the East Coast.
Oh,
They're in
wow.
Tennessee. So, of course you can pick the phone up and call them, but it's not the same as like, hey, I'm going to come over there and give you a hug. And I know how this is, and you're in pain
Mm-hmm.
and all these things. So yeah, I'd say for me, the one thing that really helped me was my faith in God. Sure.
I'm so glad that you were able
Hmm.
to kind of go back to reconnecting, because
Hmm.
sometimes that is all what people have to make it through a really
Yeah.
difficult time. And you have to grasp at whatever you can to
Yes.
pull yourself out of these things. And faith
Hmm.
is an amazing start. So I'm happy for you. And just that you have that group of people now that that you
Yeah.
could rely on in this situation too. That
Hmm.
is huge. How did you, so were these people that you knew, or you've met after the fact?
So, it's interesting. The one person that comes to mind actually watches my daughter, and she plays with her daughters. So she has three girls herself. One is only like almost 4 months old. So, the other one is like two. So my daughter's like right in between them. So we never talked. Like, I coached her child in jujitsu, and like, she's kind of quiet and I'm kind of quiet unless I'm coaching. I'm pretty introverted. And so is
Yeah.
she. So all of a sudden she reaches out to me. I think she kind of maybe caught a vibe that, like, maybe I was struggling a little bit, and she caught a vibe of that. But she reached out and she's like, hey, like, if you need tips or if you need help, like, just let me know. And then from there, like, oh, and then also her daughter was selling Girl Scout cookies, and I was like, I'm buying all of them. And so, so we met through that. And then ever since that, like, I would say she's one of my closest friends and like part of my village here. And then, just some other people that I've met through jujitsu. And, then I got to meet like you guys and just things like that, the people that I can relate with, because I think sometimes we graduate from friend groups, like with
Yeah.
experiences that we've had. And so, so yeah, it kind of was random, but, I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah, that is truly a blessing to have especially in this, I don't want to say late in life because you are young still,
Mm-hmm.
but to find such a
Yeah.
bond at this time is not easy. And sometimes
Right.
it does take like these situations to kind of pull you out of your norm. I'm also an introvert, so I completely
Right.
understand where you're coming from. In
Yeah.
that, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes it makes it harder to open up to people. So I'm really glad that you found
Definitely.
that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a game changer for sure. And speaking of support, I do want to
Definitely.
ask, because I know you and your husband, you guys own the gym together or the school together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How was
Yeah.
how is it for both of you guys going through all this together? Because, I always, the husbands are always kind of left out a little bit in when people, you're going through
Sure.
this, but also you're like a family
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah.
So how is it going through all of this together
Right.
with him? And how is he? Is he okay?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know men typically do get left out quite a bit, but I think in the beginning, it's very hard to hear that your spouse is potentially going through a life-threatening situation, and then to turn around again and have it happen in front of your face, where now she's out cold and they're cutting your baby out of her, right? So very, very difficult. And the way that he copes is he kind of like dives into work. And I think a lot of men do that, right?
Yeah.
Where just go full blown into just like, let's just get after it and just like busy myself. So for a while, that's what he was doing. And conversations of like, hey, like, like you can peel back, like you can kind of relax a little bit, give yourself some time. And, I think from there, he's gotten a lot better about coping and dealing with things. And of course, things are going really great. So that's helpful. And the
Yeah.
gym members absolutely love him. So they rallied around him and kind of picked him
Amazing.
up and helped him get through all this.
So I'm glad he had people rallying around him too, because um,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
it, it it is hard to navigate as a person, watching the person you love going through this. Um, I,
Right.
I
Absolutely.
I always
Mm-hmm.
say, like, I would rather it be me than, the people I love,
Right. Watching it. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. Me too. Because I'm like, I know what I can handle. Like, you know what
Right.
I mean?
So is there anything else that you have to say while we wrap this thing up, that you want to say to anybody else that's watching, or about your fight, or anything that you'd
Yeah.
like to say?
Um, Sure, sure. I think like the cliche thing to say is never give up, but I actually mean that. Like, there are times in life, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with cancer, but it's just in general where we're faced with, should I give up? And in whatever situation, like I just feel like I need to give up, and I'm so tired and I'm so exhausted with all of this. And my advice is to just keep going, because you matter to so many people that you actually don't even know that you matter to. They're watching, they're proud of you, they're inspired by you. And just in general, like every human being on this earth matters. And I think we all deserve to be happy, strong, and healthy. So regardless of what we're facing, we just have to keep going and never give up.
And I don't think that's cliche at all, especially in this situation. I think it really
Hmm.
holds significant value. It's just, you really have to, in each moment, make it to the next. Do not give up in the
Hmm.
moment that you are in, and just keep taking it second by second. So I love that. Thank you for that. And thank you
Yeah,
so much for being
of
here
course.
and giving us your story and your insight. If you want to give people kind of where they could reach out to you if they have any questions, or
Sure.
want to reach out.
Yeah, so my Instagram is the best place to reach out, and it's at Barb C BJJ. Again, it's at Barb C BJJ, and I post on there about my journey all the time, whether that's fitness, whether that's mom related. I do little videos here and there about things that I've experienced. And you can always send me a direct message on there, and I always check my messages. So that's the best place to reach me.
Yeah, Barb is super inspiring on Instagram. I love seeing what you post, and I'm super excited to see you get to this point of your fight. And we are rooting for you. So again, thank you. And
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll put all her information in the show notes too, so you'll have it there. And other than that, thanks, Barb, and we will see you in the next one.